Welcome to Netflix, your quick stop for movie recaps. Get all the highlights and mind-blowing twists in just minutes. Before I start, this is a summary of the second part of the movie Deadpool. The last thing we saw was Deadpool killing Ajax and reuniting with his girlfriend Vanessa. Colossus told Deadpool one day that he would recruit him into the X-Men. 2 years later, we see Deadpool traveling around the world, eliminating the most dangerous criminals and gangs. After finishing off an Asian cartel, he returns to America to kill a gang leader named Volenchikov. Deadpool was killing his men while Volenchikov tried to escape and locked himself in the surveillance room. Deadpool spoke to him through the camera after killing all his men. Volenchikov was shocked that Deadpool was still alive. Deadpool realizes that a large number of Volenchikov's men have arrived, so he runs and gets into Dopinder's car. It turns out Deadpool escaped because he was late and wanted to return home. It was the first anniversary of his marriage to Vanessa. He asks Dopinder to drive him home quickly. Deadpool goes home, meets Vanessa, and gives her a coin made of lead. This coin was from their first outing together. Vanessa gives him her birth control and tells him she stopped taking it because she wants to have his child. Wade is overjoyed, hugs her, and they sit together thinking about what to name the baby. Suddenly, Wade feels someone outside his apartment. He orders Vanessa to hide. Gunfire erupts in the apartment, and it turns out to be Volenchikov's men. Wade deals with them and manages to eliminate them using kitchen tools. Afterward, he calls Vanessa out of hiding, and she appears unharmed. But at that moment, Volenchikov appears and shoots Wade. The bullet misses Wade and hits Vanessa in the heart. Wade is shocked and jumps out of his apartment window to chase Volenchikov. However, a car hits Wade, giving Volenchikov time to escape. Fortunately, a truck crashes into Volenchikov's car, disabling. Volenchikov tries to restart the car but fails as Wade reaches him in the middle of the street. A large vehicle crashes into both of them, killing Volenchikov. After Vanessa's death, Wade falls into a deep depression, spending all his days drinking and using harmful substances. He spends 3 days drinking at a bar. Wade returns to his old home and meets the blind woman he lived with. Wade collapses to the ground, feeling guilty about Vanessa's death, as it was almost his fault. Al tries to console him, but he ignores her. Wade attempts to commit suicide in various ways but fails, even blowing himself up in his apartment. His body is torn into pieces, but he survives and has a vision of Vanessa. He is happy to see her again and tries to reach her, but there is a barrier between. He wishes to touch her one last time. When he speaks to her, she tells him his heart is not in the right place yet. Wade doesn't understand what she means. Within seconds, he returns to the real world. At this point, Colossus arrives at Wade's destroyed apartment and collects his scattered body parts. He takes them to the X-Men mansion. After a short time, Wade's body fully recovers. Colossus suggests that Wade becomes a member of the team and explains the team's rules to him. Wade steals Professor X's chair to escape the mansion, but Colossus catches him before he can leave. Wade confesses that he is sad about Vanessa's death and feels responsible for it. Colossus comforts him, saying the X-Men will now become his family. Wade decides to stay at the mansion. Meanwhile, a young boy named Russell arrives at a facility for mutes. This facility claims to treat mutes. Russell meets the facility's director, Tony, who is a very crazy man. Tony believes mutants are sick people who need to be cured or killed. Tony gathers all the children in the facility to watch Russell undergo electric shock therapy. Tony continues to treat Russell with electricity for many days. Russell suffers greatly during this time. As a result of his suffering, Russell destroys the facility using his powers, causing panic among the people. The police arrive but fail to calm Russell or contain him. The X-Men team arrives, and Deadpool is with them because Colossus convinced him to come. Deadpool approaches Russell to talk to him, but Russell gets scared and attacks one of the X-Men members, Ellie. Deadpool tries again to calm Russell, but this time Russell gets scared and hits Colossus, sending him flying. Deadpool gets frustrated with Russell and raises his weapon, but Colossus stops him and reminds him of the first rule of the X-Men: do not kill the enemy, even if they deserve it. Deadpool puts away his weapons and approaches Russell calmly, telling him to trust him and that he won't hurt him. At that moment, Tony comes out of the facility. When Russell sees him, he gets angry and shoots Deadpool, sending him flying. Deadpool loses his temper with Russell, jumps at him, and throws his sword at Russell's face, causing him to lose consciousness. The police place a metal collar around Russell's neck to prevent him from using his powers. After what happened to Russell, Tony thanks Deadpool for his actions and says his staff will now take care of Russell. Russell pleads with Deadpool to let the police arrest him rather than send him back to Tony's facility. Deadpool is surprised by Russell's words and stops the facility staff. He examines Russell and sees scars from the electric shock therapy on his neck. He asks Russell if they tortured him at the facility, and Russell says yes. Deadpool stands up and tells the X-Men team, "I don't want to be a perfect hero like." Suddenly, Deadpool shoots one of the facility staff members. Tony and the rest of the staff run and hide from Deadpool's gunfire. Colossus jumps on Deadpool and restrains him. Colossus yells at Deadpool, saying what he's doing is wrong and that he can't kill people so easily. Deadpool tells him the facility mistreats and tortures mutes. Colossus responds, saying it's not their responsibility to punish the facility staff. Colossus tells Deadpool he has disappointed him and that he cannot join. The police place a metal collar around Deadpool's neck and arrest both him and Russell. They are taken to a prison called Icebox, the largest prison for mutants in America. Wade and Russell are placed in their cell. With his powers suppressed by the collar, Wade begins to feel very ill as his cancer symptoms return. If Wade remains in this state, he will die. Russell talks to Wade about his problems, saying no one has ever loved or defended him before. He says if he ever gets out of this place, he will kill Tony to stand up for everyone. Wade feels sympathy for Russell after hearing. The next day, while they are eating, Russell gets into a fight with several inmates. The prisoners beat Russell, and Wade gets involved because he's his friend. The prisoners also beat Wade, and Wade couldn't defend himself. He returns to his cell afterward, injured because of Russell. In a fit of anger, he tells Russell, "I got hurt because of you, and I don't want us to be friends anymore." Meanwhile, Meanwhile, a strange man named Cable is watching the news, which talks about what happened in front of the facility and how the police arrested Russell and Deadpool. Cable then gathers his advanced weapons brought from the future. After preparing himself, he storms into the icebox prison, locates Wade and Russell's cell, and moves toward it, taking down all the guards he encounters. He destroys the prison's control room, causing all the computer systems to crash and all the cells to open. The prisoners escape, and Wade and Russell realize that Cable came specifically for them, since he ignored all the other prisoners and targeted only them with gunfire. Wade assumes Cable is after her. He orders Russell to go in the opposite direction. However, it turns out that Cable is specifically after Russell. Wade decides to defend Russell and fights Cable, but Wade is, of course, very weak and unable to stand against Cable. During their fight, Cable accidentally shoots Wade's collar, causing it to malfunction. Wade jumps on Cable, and they both fall to the level below. Wade lands on his back, and the collar comes off his neck. Cable assumes Wade is dead and moves to kill Russell. At that moment, Wade gets up, his superpower restored, and resumes fighting Cable. This time, Wade is very strong, surprising Cable with his power. Wade takes Cable's weapon, fully charges it, and fires a powerful shot, sending Cable flying. But Cable doesn't die, because he had a shield around it. Wade approaches Cable and asks, "Who are you?" Cable replies, "I came from the future." Cable uses a magnetic device to retrieve his weapon from Wade, fires at the ceiling, and nearly drops a metal beam on Wade. The two engage in another fight. Although Wade's powers have returned, Cable is very strong. Cable breaks Wade's arm, stabs him with a knife, and delivers a blow to his chest, knocking him away. Wade drops Vanessa's coin, and after defeating Wade, Cable takes the coin as a keepsake. This angers Wade, who wants to retrieve the coin, but Cable delivers another powerful punch, leaving Wade exhausted and unable to stand. Cable asks him why he's trying to protect Russell. Unbeknownst to Wade, Russell overhears them. Wade says, "I don't care about Russell at all." Hurt by Wade's words, Russell surrenders to the prison guards. Wade pulls the grenade pin on Cable, and they both fall into the explosion. During this, Wade reflects on Vanessa's last words, finally understanding their meaning. Russell is where his heart. She must save Russell. Realizing this, Wade returns to the real world, emerges from the lake, and goes back to the bar owned by his friend Weasel. He devises a plan to rescue Russell. Weasel informs him that the authorities will transfer the prisoners to a more secure facility in a few days. Upon hearing this, Wade decides to assemble a team to save Russell, naming it X-Force. He interviews potential members, selecting the right team for the mission. After the interview, Weasel leaves for home, but Cable captures him to extract information about Wade. Weasel, being cowardly, reveals everything he knows about Wade, and the team Wade assemble. Meanwhile, in prison, Russell steals food from some prisoners, causing them to fight among themselves. The guards intervene and beat the prisoners, allowing Russell to sneak downstairs, where a giant beast is held. Russell offers the beast a tray of food to befriend it. The day of the prisoner transfer arrives, and all the prisoners are placed in capsules and transported by truck. Deadpool, having devised a plan to rescue Russell, jumps from a plane with his team to intercept the truck. However, a sudden storm scatters the team, causing some to land far away and others to die. The only survivor is Domino, whose superpower is extreme luck. She manages to enter the prisoner truck, throws out the driver, and takes control. At that moment, Cable arrives and boards the truck, realizing Deadpool is after it. He ejects the prisoner capsules onto the road to deter him, but she avoids them all. Deadpool leaps through the air to reach the truck but fails, falling to the ground and getting hit by one of the prison vehicles. Deadpool kills the driver, uses his sword, steps on the gas pedal, and steers with his other hand, trying to catch up to the truck. Meanwhile, Domino fights Cable but is easily defeated. Cable is about to kill her when Deadpool arrives just in time, engaging Cable in a fight. Domino returns to driving the truck, but when she tries to brake, she discovers that the gunfire caused a leak, disabling the brakes. She looks for another way to stop the truck. Cable fires at Deadpool, who deflects the bullets with his swords. Meanwhile, Russell manages to open his capsule. As Deadpool and Cable fight, Russell frees the giant beast from its cell. The beast, named Juggernaut, breaks the ground with immense force, creating a large hole that overturns the truck. Juggernaut escapes, and Russell orders him to kill Deadpool. Juggernaut grabs Deadpool and tears him in half effortlessly, leaving Deadpool without his lower body. Deadpool tries to apologize to Russell, but Russell dismisses it, saying he no longer needs it. With Juggernaut's help, Russell plans to take revenge on Tony. Russell and Juggernaut leave, while Domino takes the upper half of Deadpool back home. Deadpool waits for his lower body to regenerate. Weasel visits Wade and informs him that Cable came and threatened to kill him. At that moment, Cable enters, prompting everyone to draw their weapons, thinking he's there to kill them. But Cable isn't there for that. He raises his hands, asking for their help. He explains that Russell must be stopped from killing Tony, the director of the facility. If Russell succeeds, he will become extremely evil, and in the future, an older Russell will kill Cable's family. And Cable says, "I thought I could handle Russell on my own, but since Juggernaut is with him, I'll need your help and full support." Wade asks him, "Why don't you go back in time further and try to kill Russell when he's young?" Cable responds, "I can't. I only have 2 charges for time travel. One I used to come to this time, and one to return to the future." Wade understands Cable's reasoning and why he's doing all this. As Wade himself lost his wife and feels his pain, he tells Cable, "All right, I'll work with it, but give me a chance to try to convince Russell not to kill Tony. If I can persuade him, he won't become the villain." Cable agrees. Since Deadpool and Cable alone wouldn't be enough to fight Juggernaut, Deadpool heads to the X-Men mansion to meet Colossus. He apologizes to Colossus for everything he's done and explains the whole situation, but Colossus refuses to help because he's still upset with Deadpool. Deadpool says, "I was wrong to come ask you for help," then gets into a taxi and heads to the orphanage where Tony is. When they arrive, Deadpool asks Cable about the teddy bear he's always carried. Cable explains, "This teddy bear has my daughter's blood on. If this mission succeeds, the blood will vanish because my daughter won't have died." Meanwhile, Russell knocks on the orphanage's door with Juggernaut. Deadpool tries to talk to Russell and convince him to abandon his revenge, but Russell refuses to listen, blowing up the orphanage door and chasing Tony, causing destruction everywhere. Deadpool, Cable, and Domino fight Juggernaut, but despite their numbers and Cable's advanced weapon, Juggernaut overpowers them. Deadpool and Cable are easily defeated, but Juggernaut can't hit Domino because her superpower is luck. Domino manages to hit Juggernaut in the face with a missile, but it doesn't affect him. Cable and Domino realize their only hope is Colossus, who is the only one strong enough to stand against Juggernaut. Colossus charges at Juggernaut and lands a strong punch to his face, but even Colossus struggles against Juggernaut's immense strength. Colossus realizes he needs to change his strategy. Meanwhile, Domino enters the orphanage and fights the staff to save the children. Thanks to her luck, no one can hit her, and the staff members die in strange accidents. The children cheer for her, but Domino can't find a way to get them out because there's fire everywhere. Outside, Juggernaut tries to hit Colossus with a bus, but the bus crashes into the orphanage. Domino seizes the opportunity to get the children out through the bus. Meanwhile, Deadpool and Cable fight the orphanage staff and manage to take them all down. They reach Russell just before he's about to kill Tony, but Russell still won't listen to anyone. He uses his powers to attack them, and Cable uses his shield to protect them. Since Russell is determined to kill Tony, Cable pulls out his weapons and decides to kill Russell. Deadpool tries to stop it, saying, "We still have time to convince Russell." At that moment, two members of the X-Men team, Yukio and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, arrive to help Colossus in his fight against Juggernaut. Yukio ties Juggernaut's legs with a metal chain. Colossus connects an electric wire to Juggernaut, and Negasonic uses her powers to knock Juggernaut into a swimming pool, electrocuting. Now, only Russell remains. Deadpool raises his hands and apologizes to Russell for what he said earlier. He approaches Russell slowly, trying to convince him not to kill anyone. Russell accepts his apology but says, "I still don't trust you," and burns Deadpool's back before throwing him away. Deadpool doesn't give up and tries a final solution. He puts the metal collar around his neck, which disables his healing abilities, and tells Russell, "If you're going to kill someone today, let it be me." Deadpool runs toward Russell, who prepares to attack him. At the same time, Cable tries to kill Russell quickly, but Deadpool intervenes and takes the bullet in his heart. With his healing powers disabled, Deadpool dies. Seeing Deadpool sacrifice his life for him makes Russell reconsider killing Tony. He realizes that revenge has blinded him. Immediately, the blood on Cable's teddy bear disappears, signifying that Russell didn't kill Cable's family future. Colossus tries to remove the collar from Deadpool's neck to restore his healing powers and save him, but Deadpool refuses, saying, "I wanted to die from the beginning to reunite with Vanessa." Deadpool bids farewell to his friends and dies, reuniting with Vanessa. However, Vanessa tells him, "This isn't your time." Back on Earth, Cable decides to change Deadpool's fate. He uses his last time travel charge to return to the moment they arrived at the orphanage to stop Russell. This time, Cable gives Deadpool Vanessa's lead coin, which he had taken earlier, and places it over Deadpool's heart to block the bullet. When Deadpool jumps in to save Russell, the coin absorbs the bullet, and Deadpool survives. He realizes what Cable has done and says, "But now you can't return to the future and see your family." Cable replies, "What matters is that they're alive and safe." With everything resolved, Russell removes the collar from Deadpool's neck, and they all leave the orphanage. At that moment, Tony arrives and starts insulting the superheroes, but Dopinder, the taxi driver, appears and runs him over with his car, killing him and ending Tony for good. Later, Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Yukio manage to repair Cable's time travel device, restoring multiple charges. They give it to Wade to hand over to Cable, but Wade uses it himself. He travels back in time to the moment Vanessa was killed and stops the assassin before he can harm her. He also travels back to the events of the Wolverine movie and kills the version of Deadpool that appeared in that film. While he's at it, Wade saves the X-Force team from dying. In the end, Wade lives happily ever after with Vanessa. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive all new updates. See you in the next video.